Start with roll call. Andre De La Rosa for City of Bloomington, ESD, Executive Director of BUEA.
I will go. Alex Crowley, board member.
Mary Morgan, board member.
Norman St. John, board member.
Julie Donham, board member.
Paul Ash, board member.
Board member.
Right. So approval of minutes for November. We ready for that?
Any changes to the minutes?
I don't have any change. This might not be the right time, but I'm wondering, we haven't seen Scott, right, for a while. Is he still?
We have his resignation letter.
Okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
All right, and that came via email, so it would not be included in these notes.
Sure.
We just got to discuss one. So, any changes then? Motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All right, minutes approved for November. Next, director's report. Just a couple things. We have the opportunity to close our money marketing account and move our savings to it. Basically, the situation is at First Financial, the money market account has hit below the minimum balance, so we're getting charged $10 monthly. By recommendation of the controller's office and First Financial, we should move our savings to the money marketing account. The funds would accrue more interest because there's a higher interest rate on there. So, does anyone have any questions or comments about that?
So is that the whole $2 million is going to be moved to money market?
Yes, I believe so.
Yes.
Okay. When will that be done?
Cheryl, you just need to decide, or
Yeah, once it was presented today and everyone's approved, we'll work with First Financial. Probably our representative is out until Friday.
Okay.
So that'll be our first opportunity to really talk to her and get the specific details about the rate.
Okay.
And all the arrangements, so I can report back.
Okay.
So it's going to be really quick. We don't have to wait.
Okay.
all right. So we down to vote on that.
Yep, I think so.
Okay. So motion to move our savings account to a money market account. Seven.
Second.
Great. So we will.
I think we need to.
I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. So we will do that move. And Alex, is that through you, or do you have to contact them? or-
We'll have the control phone. And let me know.
Okay.
I do have banking credentials.
Right, yes, it's you and Jeff Underwood, so yeah, he said he would take care of it, so.
Okay.
Next on the agenda, we do have several open board seats.
We need to go through.
I'm sorry. Okay, I had that in my direction report, but yeah, we can go through the financials. That's great. Cheryl?
Oh, sure. Okay, so
Should we back up for 1 second? I think she was
Yeah, they're doing
just
the
finishing out the
director.
director.
Yeah, did,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I apologize. I thought we were in the financials.
No. That was just one of the
Okay.
top things I wanted to get off the director report. So we do have several open BUA board seats. As Mary mentioned before, Scott has left us as well, and I do need to say that Karen will also be leaving us as well.
I'm leaving. I am emailed previously, but I am completely overcommitted on my volunteer responsibilities, and something has to go. I am on this as a representative of the Plan Commission appointed by the mayor to that. So I assume the mayor will pick up somebody else off the Plan Commission to fill my seat, but this is my last meeting, so.
So we thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I wish I had more time to work with you, but I very much appreciate you being here.
Thank you. It's been great.
We're looking at the possible players on the planning commission.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it has to be kind of it's a limited pool of people. that we
it
can
is a
choose.
limited pool, yeah. No,
So currently it's zone resident, which is voted by the Common Council, business appointed by the mayor, and the Plan Commission appointed by the mayor. The other two seats are governor appointments. Don't really know how to go about this since I'm new. So is there something specifically that we can do to, find applicants? And we've kind of gone through our applicants thus far, and it's been quite some time since we've contacted them. It's been past, I guess, the point of admission. I'm sorry, I'm losing my words here. So I have tried to reach out to some of them, and some of them have different emails. So I'm wondering if there is anyone that has any good ideas on how to kind of reach out to people to see if they'd like to be on this board.
And the city put out a press release.
It has actually been already put out. That actually came out today, I
Is it
believe.
specific to BUEA or is it?
It has a
some-
list of
Yeah.
everything, and BUA is on it,
Yeah.
but because it's urban enterprise zone, it's at the bottom of the list.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that also is kind of a problem.
And it's
So
also a very specific group of, like, unlike, sort of casting that
Yeah.
wide. So what's been helpful in the past is really so first of all, to Dee's suggestion, know exactly what we're trying to fill.
Right.
So one is a business,
business and a zone resident.
one is a zone resident, one is the planning commission.
Okay.
So the planning commission, I don't think we have to cast, because that's,
Right.
but the other two, what's helpful is we all know the footprint. We probably have ideas, encouraging our contacts to think about it, to at least take a look and hopefully we can kind of reactivate the applicant list a little bit. It's been a little dry.
This is a board that is politically balanced, right? So my understanding.
I believe so, yes.
So what are the party requirements for those seats?
So I believe it's an independent. I'm so sorry, I did not.
Well, I think there's one position that's specifically of a non-majority party, if I'm not mistaken, and then everybody else is, so there has to be at least one. So you don't have to balance that.
Okay,
So-
so it's just that one position.
So that's the first thing.
Do we know if it's one of these positions or? Because that would narrow the.
It was Scott's position, and I believe that Scott was the resident.
So is it
God had a business in the zone,
yeah, he also had a business.
He also did have the best.
which I'm not sure he still has.
He has moved out of state, but
Oh.
I believe he may still have the business in town. That I'm unsure of.
So maybe at this point, just think about it. We're thinking about it. We're trying to figure out we're getting a little close to quorum sometimes. We're at 7, well, right now, 6 when you move on. And 6 is a quorum. So we just need to, that puts us on a little bit of a razor's edge when it comes to
Right.
the act. And so I think to the extent that you know people, I don't know if you do, I mean, the nice thing about us being on the board is that we all have a pretty good idea of what happens here. It's a time commitment, certainly. But it's also, as I said to Dee, one of the appealing things is that unlike other boards where you're basically in a lot of cases in the position of having to kind of say no, in the BUEA's case, there's we're often in the position of being able to say yes, and there's great resources available at the board. So I actually think among all the boards and commissions, it's a kind of a good one,
From
and
that
so.
standpoint, yeah.
are we limited specifically to the number of board members that we can have? Or is there a range? In other words, could we make additions to those seats that we need to fill? Like those are required, but can we put people on top of that or no?
As far as the bylaws, I didn't see anything that says that we can't. I'll have to review those bylaws again, but nothing stuck out to me that said that we couldn't if the board makes the decision to do that and, amend the bylaws. So, because the board can amend the bylaws. So
Well, but that's my question. Is it an amendment or do the bylaws already allow that?
that is what I would need to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that might be an interesting thought too, moving into next year, is that we have really talked about those very specific seats. But this board may have the taste to add a few more people in
Mhm.
too, just for the betterment of the organization. How you balance that and what those look like is
Sure.
another thing. But certainly, I think with the work that this group does, this organization does with granting money, giving scholarships, making loans, I think the representation for need is really important. And then also, I think one could say having someone who, like, it's a nonprofit, like,
Right.
so someone knows how to do that.
Sure.
And if there's someone on the board who really knows, I mean, I've kind of done some of that. We all had our turns doing that, but if we can get somebody who has been a treasurer of a nonprofit before and kind of knows some of those things, they could be an asset to this board in terms of setting the budget and helping with some of the things that are needed for us to be
Absolutely.
nimble and to respond, because we sometimes get in that situation where like, we really want to do this, but how do we do that?
Yeah.
So I would just suggest if there's a way to pick up an extra seat to think about that, is getting someone who's done that kind of work before.
Especially since we have two seats that we never, because they're governor appointed.
Right.
Yeah.
So that kind of hamstrings us a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
Would you be able to email us with just the current list and what categories? Honestly, I forget what category I'm representing.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
the seats.
I could 100% do
I mean,
You're the token Mary.
Yeah.
I think I'm president, but if there's another, must not be. That's an. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Okay, so yeah, I will take a look at those bylaws and see if there is a way to make that happen.
You know, another thing I was thinking, Jane kind of kept an ongoing list of people that she was gonna tap for board. You might.
I bet I'd be able to find it.
Why don't
I'll
you
find it.
either reach out to her even, because she's got, I know Felicia was on that list, so. So we, you know, she had an ongoing list of people that she was gonna contact.
Well, of course, if we could get Jane back.
Well, and you know what? I actually was thinking about that today, so
Yeah,
she may be getting that phone call if she's
Hold that
listening to
on.
this meeting.
but and Jane might, yeah, because she's in the business, she would have a business.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can run, but you can't hide from us. I
right,
guess,
exactly.
And then now we will move to financials. Cheryl, if you would please.
Oh, sure. Okay, so the packet has, the normal, 3 reports, with the first being the, profit and loss report. A lot of times to me, this report doesn't give you a lot of information, other than an overview that, you've earned interest of $176.68. And that you've, given out two grants in the amount of $21,000. And we had a $5 service fee for this year, for the month of November. In addition, you had another $184.25 in income from another pot of interest. So when you put all that together, you've basically spent more than you brought in, which is very normal. So as a net income, it was $20,644.27. Your balance sheet gives you a little more information, as it does reflect the balance for the cash balance on each of your accounts. Your first financial checking account does have a negative balance of $5,149.51. And that's basically because we have some outstanding checks or EFTs that haven't gone through the system yet. And I did notice that some of these are rather old. So yesterday when I met with Dee, I told her that I'm gonna look in, they've been there before I came on board, so we need
These
to
are
look.
pending EFT
They're
payments?
pending, so they're entered into QuickBooks, that they've not been fully processed. So they may be duplicates or, whatever. So that's showing as a negative because it's on our books as possible expenses. So I'm gonna try to investigate each of those before.
And you're talking about the 5,000.
Yeah.
The QuickBooks issue, it's not a bank. In other words, it's-
Right, no, our banking balances out.
Okay.
It's just what we have in the system that it's been reported that there's some EFT or a check or something that we put in our system that was going to go out
Okay.
as an expense. And it hasn't shown up yet, so it's still listed as a liability. So I am going to investigate those. And it's not a lot, but there's a few. And we talked about, or Dee talked about the money market, which has $22.37. And next month it'll go, we'll try to cut off that $10 charge for next month. But the savings account does have the $2,261,794.56. And we will work on moving that to your money market account where you can earn higher interest and then close out the savings. Your German American Bank balance is $215,513.11. And that's basically a CD that you have with that bank. The IU Credit Union balance is $203.49. $203,459.51. And that's basically just a savings account that is earning some interest. The People's State Bank is another CD. And that balance currently sits at $104,240.24. Next set of assets does list all of your long-term notes receivable. And you can see that a lot of majority of your loans have started paying back their amounts. We do have a couple that are outstanding that have not paid anything. So I think as the group goes on, will be some movement in either nudging or reaching out to those couple of companies that haven't started paying and try to get them to start making a payment. So
Contractually, were they to pay?
yeah.
Yes, and once Cheryl's done with her review, we'll speak to that.
Yeah. So these are all listed as assets because it's still your money and you expect to get it back. So your total long-term notes receivable is $260,466.91. And when you combine your cash and your long-term notes receivables, your overall total asset of, really what you have, what you're worth is $3,040,347.19. And the next report is the profit and loss budget versus actual. So I'm basically going to just review what you have available based on your budget and you're at the end of the year. So, it's, I guess at the beginning of 22, it was estimated that $313,413 would come in as income, and you have exceeded that. So in addition to that budget, you have the available on this sheet as a kind of a profit is $170,691.54. And when you compare that to the expenses, the expense balance of your budget. Your advertising and promotion has $1,000 left in it to spend before the end of the year. Your banking service charges, you've overspent by $59.99. Basically, the budget did not include that type of expense for the year. Your total in grants, you still have a remaining $142,498 that can be spent by the end of the year. Insurance expenses, you have $6 available. Miscellaneous expense, $254 available. Payroll expenses. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. For the miscellaneous expenses, you've overspent by $6. And the payroll expenses, you've overspent by $254. And the professional fees, you still have $8,000 available to spend. I'm sorry, that was payroll. You have $8,000 to spend. The the professional fees available to spend is $54,710. Your overall scholarships, you have a remaining balance of $16,246.45 to spend for this year. There's another set of income for it's interest-based, which your budget exceeded what you projected by $118.63. So when you look at the net income available based on your budget, you have $392,944.63 that has not been spent this year. Yeah. So you did exceptionally well with your budget this year in terms of not getting over, but then again, you probably have grants and scholarships that haven't been funded.
Right, because we increased this resident scholarships because we didn't have enough money, and now this obviously shows a way different picture.
Yeah, so a lot of those checks have gone out in December.
Okay.
So, and this is reflecting what's happened in
This is
November.
November.
So we're gonna see a lot of that money go out in the next,
And is that the same with the county management and project administration?
I think that's on to get approved.
That is, those things will carry over, and yes, they are going to be approved this meeting.
Yeah.
So the project administration was the fund to actually help with the administration of the RRF loans that the BUA put out, which we have not touched or used, but may use next year to do that. And that's a line item in the budget, so it would just be a carryover.
But it will not be spent in 22.
But it will not be spent in 22 because of what we're about to go over in the next section of the financial report.
But the 40,000 will be spent.
Yes, it will be, because those are professional fees for ESD.
And they're what we paid at the city, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, that was my question.
Yes.
And
Okay.
that,
Which is not new business, that's just hasn't been paid yet.
right,
Yeah.
Okay,
I think we paid it.
at the end of the year.
At the end of
Yeah, at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But it'll hit this budget.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. So this report was for November, so.
the arts grants, there's some of those that'll be funded in December.
There are a few that actually are going through the controller's office right now, so yes.
Okay, is the 80,000 versus less than 15 It's significant?
Yes. Yeah, there are definitely some things that are still just going through the controller's office at this point.
Do we
so
know how much?
I actually do not know that off the top of my head.
I think, do we have a detail from, it's the operating grants? It's the
What?
arts operating grants, right? I'm
It
just trying
says
to think.
zone arts grants, and that was the one that we doubled up to 80,000 this year, because we didn't.
Because it wasn't
get to
spent in
spend
21.
it.
in
Not that
21.
not that it carries over, we just chose to increase it
Sure.
in acknowledgement the previous year with COVID.
Mhm.
So we increased it, but it still didn't get spent again.
Right.
Sure.
It comes back to that, and I've mentioned this before, it's really hard to give away money.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, and I mean, it's laughable, but it's also not. It's
Yeah.
like- And that's your challenge. It's really, really tough, because we ask people to qualify.
Right.
We ask for people to make proposals. All of that takes time
Mhm.
for recipients, and they're already stretched thin on money and time. And we expect them to make proposals, and it's just, and here we
Yeah.
sit with what? $375,000 of net income.
Right.
Is there a way to propose someone to help with these procedures to meet the requirements? Can we put someone in the forefront to help people?
That is actually a line item in the budget that we'll go over here shortly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And then the other part of it was the marketing of it, which I'm sure you have planned
Yeah.
for that to let people know, but. Yeah, I mean, what.
Part of it also just in the net income is just the surprise income that we didn't expect to come through these.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
extra $170,000.
170, right?
Yeah.
And yet we have like 2.8 in the bank, which I know we want to do for some big projects, but we have $2.8 million in
Sure.
the bank
Yeah,
as a nonprofit collecting this to benefit. So
Sure.
kind of back to, I know we're going to talk about the budget, but
Yeah.
yes. It's
Um,
business, that's awesome.
Yeah.
For a granting
Right.
organization.
Not great.
Not so great.
Not great.
So D, this has always been a challenge for us. Obviously, this is what's in QuickBooks, but it doesn't give a good picture of where we are, like what we've committed to.
Sure.
There's got to be a way that we can go from here to what we've committed to and know where we are. I don't know how, because this does not show, this is not a good, I mean, this is accurate. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But it doesn't show what we committed to.
Okay.
Just like I made the comment about scholarships. I know we increased scholarships at the last meeting, but yet we're showing we're
Right.
11,000 left to give.
So
So it doesn't,
yeah, and I think that that's just been the way that we have managed scholarships in general. It's been very manual. So, we're sending a check and it takes a while and all of that. So nothing's really been automated. There are a lot of spreadsheets that are going on. So, we're working to get some grant management software together. So this will be more consistent, more accurate. And, when we have these meetings, we can be like, okay, this is what the P&L says, but this is actually what we sent out this month. And you know exactly what it is. Because, with these rolling sort of grant cycles that have been happening, you can't really keep track of things. And if you do look into your packet, I have come up with a proposal for the grant cycles. And, they're very strict on it. Like, this is January, from January to February, this one happens. We give the awards out in March or April, and then we're done with it. And then we start with the next cycle. So we have a more accurate picture of what's happening quarterly, as opposed to like these monthly ones where it's like, well, we sent these in, March, and then we sent these in April, and the check hasn't gone through, or somebody hasn't cashed it or whatever. We know what we sent out. So,
And I think all of that is great.
Mhm.
And I think Jane, you might look back at some old packets. She used to do like a little table.
Yeah.
And you'll find it in old packets where she would put arts grants, budgeted, committed, remaining. And the committed was, we haven't written a check yet, but we're about to situation. So, or we already, so that
Sure.
that might help
We've
you in
approved
an
it,
interim.
Yeah. that's,
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
just a little-
essentially what
yeah.
I'm pushing for this next year, where it will be a very, as you know, I'm still trying to figure out
Absolutely.
everything that's happening
Yeah,
right now, but that
yeah.
is definitely something that I would like to be able to present every time we walk in here. So,
Yeah.
where the money's going.
Yeah.
well, and it's not so much where it's going, it's where we are.
Yeah.
With regard, yeah,
If it's going.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so you might look that up and see what she did. It was a pretty quick thing. They were just, she sort of dropped those in.
I mean, I'm.
Do you remember
not a-
that?
Yeah, I do, but
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. I mean, I'd be horrified to know how many spreadsheets we have flying around in the background to try to keep this. And I'm just wondering, is this QuickBooks have a capability to book a liability or to, I mean, it's accrual basis, right?
Yeah.
So can-
And, yes, this is something that, from my understanding from Jeff Underwood is that it was done previously, but, G's position had a hard time keeping up with giving the controller's office all the necessary information to put into QuickBooks.
the commitments.
The commitments and all, just,
overhead,
to do all that, so it's a big commitment to keep up with it.
Yeah.
And so it got dropped because
It became
it
inaccurate.
became, yeah, it was just too inaccurate to give you a good picture.
So hopefully we can put
So-
something in the grant management software to kind of. Maybe
Well,
keep
but
it
what I think what we're trying to get to the
Is
bottom of as a board is that, you know, you look at November and it
Mhm.
paints a picture that is financially accurate,
Yeah.
but it's absolutely totally misleading in terms of where the current status of
Sure.
where we are.
Yeah.
And if there's always that month delay. And so the question is, how do we close that? How do we?
Close that gap.
Yeah, and I sort of would rather it be inside of the financial presentation only so that so we don't have to go like this, right? Every time, and we don't have to manage a separate spreadsheet and a
Sure.
separate list.
Right.
But I think what you're saying is probably right, which is it's really incumbent upon the these position to make sure that,
That you get the information to put it in the financials so that we see it.
which means that like anytime
Sure.
you make a commitment on a scholarship,
Mhm.
even if we're not gonna pay it out for 4 months, that commitment has to be communicated into the system.
Yeah.
Right, and so. All right, I think it's definitely a problem that
For
we
sure.
have a interim solution that Jane used to use,
Right.
and maybe that's the best way.
Right.
Or maybe there's a better way. We'll just have to figure that out.
Yeah. Okay, we can do the interim for now, but we'll look for a permanent solution.
And even, you said you'd set up grant cycles, which is great.
Mhm.
However, sometimes it's dependent on somebody putting money into something
Mhm.
before you can, so you may not be able to pay out your grant in your example in March because they haven't put their money in until June. You see what I'm saying?
I think so.
So if it like a facade grant, if they have to put in their money first, you have to wait
Sure.
till they do it. And we still have that commitment out there, but
Sure.
but from us looking at these, we kind of just don't know where we are unless we just remember where we
Mhm.
Yeah, I was able to pull one of them up and they were just totals. And it was a budget of the budget line, what's been committed and what's been paid.
Okay.
That's all we needed. So it's not even line by line of who, it's just
How much?
how much.
Sure.
Sometimes a spreadsheet is easier. I know
Mhm.
you don't want too many, but honestly, sometimes it's easier than having to populate a whole grant package before every meeting.
are. Right.
Sometimes it's easier just to drop totals in from what you had the month before and run with it. So
Okay.
that's my 2 cents.
I know that they're probably waiting, so I'm gonna try and blow through this RF loan stuff pretty quick. So what we've decided, I've spoken to loan servicers and outsourcing to get these loans taken care of, and it's just not feasible financially. With the amount that the UEA has set aside, that $12,210. So what has been happening is that we're trying to streamline that as much as possible via our office and the controller's office to get those payments in and make sure that the checks are going to the right places and all of that. We think that there might be some type of module or a way to get this more streamlined and organized through the software that we'll be using in our department. So we're looking into that. So maybe we can make this job a little bit easier for our department and the controller's office at the same time. And right now we're just assessing and defining strategies for handling late and partial payments and loans and defaults. So I'm working on a matrix and we're all just kind of trying to work together to figure out how to get people to pay their loans. If they can't pay their loans, what steps we're going to take next, reviewing the contracts, individual contracts and seeing where we can move. And Larry and I are going to work on a matrix to get that out to people. So that's the update with the RF loans. Just trying to right the ship before the first of the year.
I have a quick question about
Yes.
the loan. So I remember you telling us that the loans wouldn't have a late fee because of the system wasn't put together or it wasn't up. The late fees are still coming up.
They have started because there was not going to be a late fee.
This was in the beginning.
Oh, you mean their legacy late fees still on the account?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, well, then we
might
have to
check
look into
that,
that.
Yeah. No, the idea was that there was a period during which it was a clunky process that was being implemented, and so we didn't want to penalize the recipients for that.
Mhm.
But that's been cleaned up to these points. So we just have to go back. If they're legacy late fees, we should figure out what those are.
Yeah, and I spoke with someone about it. She knew nothing about holding back the late fees.
Okay.
Okay, I'll look into it
Okay, thank you.
for sure.
So I was just asking Karen, who's administering the loans for food that were done with for food and beverage?
So same process.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, ours should just be done the same, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were trying to figure out, is there a solution that we can, first of all, outsource, right? You could go to a loan servicer and so Jane had started that. She thought she found someone and they went dark.
Right.
Dee jumped in, tried to figure out if we could find someone locally that's what's sort of not feasible from a cost perspective.
Okay.
So we are working in the same way, and the same issues exist between the two. Like there are certain people who are behind or going dark on us on the other side as well.
So has there been contact made with those people too?
With attempts, in some cases, there were some weird emails, and so, I mean, it's a little manual, and that's why we were trying to get
Okay.
a more sophisticated process. But I think with the controller's office, put someone on it who can focus on it. Dee's on board. We have Susan in the department who's working it as well, and I think it's just a matter of like, and then we got to call in some of the people who are either behind entirely or partially, and it's because in some cases there could have been a communication breakdown. We just have to kind of sit people down and say, all right, what we don't want to be is the reason that business goes under, but we also want them to realize they've got this obligation, and so we just have to try to find a way forward for those that are not current. A lot of them are current, which is great, but there's some that are.
There are a few that-
Can you talk about the total dollar amount that's not current? Roughly?
I actually don't have that number sitting in front of me right now because I think that we have like the total number for the city and the BUEA and not just the BUEA. I will tell you this, that more, I say that I think it's only like maybe, I think I might be able to see it from the,
I look like there were two that had.
There's
yeah,
two
I think
that
there-
have not.
yeah, 2 have not paid at all. And then there are just a few that I think there may be like 2 that might be behind like a payment or something.
Okay, and the two,
The Susan is like a repo man. She is on it.
Yes, Susan is very much on it.
and the two that have not paid at all, how far behind are they? Is it 30 days, 180 days, or?
Well, it started in June.
So they're 180 days.
180 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
So-
a case by case situation,
Yeah.
and again, like what we really wanted, I mean, we do have to some degree, the dual need to receive the money back in while not sinking. And so it's kind of like trying to figure out how do you thread that needle and really get them to recognize it's begin to catch up, even if the schedule may end up being different. What we want to do is get them current as fast as possible.
Yeah, but my concern would be just the communication piece of it too, like if somebody's not communicating at all, that's different than if somebody is trying.
Right.
Working with you.
Exactly.
trying to
And
figure out
that's
something.
what we're trying to work on right now, like how do we parse that out and how we make this, feasible for these people who are reaching out, and it's like, hey, I can only make a partial payment. I can only do this much, like whether it's like maybe extending the loan or something to that effect. We're trying to find feasible ways to help people who are in contact with us and want to work with us, so.
And I'll tell you, at a small business standpoint, it is a struggle right now. Sales are not where they used to be around this season, and we were really looking forward to this season being a booming season. It's just not there. It's just not there. So I think I agree the approach would be very critical.
Yeah.
Although I would be, I'm sorry,
No, go
I
ahead.
interrupted. I would be concerned about the ones that have never even
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, communication is key.
Yeah,
And-
and that is, have they not been contacted at all? Like how have they not reached out to us or have they, not responded to us? And that's something that I have to dig deeper in because I just haven't been able to really get this under my feet
Yeah,
until
sure.
now. So, you know, go ahead.
Will that be you making contact then?
I think it's kind of a joint effort from all of the team essentially that's working on this right now. Right now, we're going to have a preliminary, notice to everyone who is delinquent or, in default at this point. That, this is, hey, we're coming up with a communication, please look for this in your mail. We're going to do a actual physical mail and an email, I believe. So at the beginning of the year, we'll have the matrix ready, so everyone will understand what this means. Like, if you make contact, if you do not make contact, if you can make a partial payment, if you can pay us out right now, things like that. So it's really just kind of clarifying the steps that they can take to pay this loan off, and make sure that the communication is very, very clear when we kind of like do this reset for the beginning of the year. And to kind of standardize it. So, it is a case by case basis, but there are only a certain amount of options that we can give people at this point, because they do need to pay the money back.
So next time, can you bring us a more detailed
Yes.
understanding of this and maybe what the program's going to be going forward?
Yes.
So we know, because I'm a little concerned. We've got 6 months of contractually supposed to be making payments, and we've got at least 2 that haven't even made
I
an attempt.
100% agree with that. Yes.
There was one anecdote, just to give you a sense of like, okay, there was one, I think it was, I don't think it was a PREA one, but where someone happened to be talking to someone else, and one person was making payments, the other one wasn't making payments. The person who was said, oh, no, the payments are due. And the person who wasn't had no idea, right? And so then there was kind of a breakdown of like, well, where were the emails going, right? And it's, you can't tell where our emails go, but the email account was right, according to the, and there was just a breakdown. That person has since become current, right? So,
Right.
so there's just a little bit of that going on, and then we just have to get to the bottom of each case where this is happening and understand what's causing this.
Mhm.
Are we prepared for someone who hasn't paid in 6 months, or they haven't communicated? Will in your matrix there be steps that this is where this goes, which is not where we want any of these to go, but it goes into some
100%.
sort of, okay.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, we certainly do not want to put any organization or business under on this.
Right.
On the other hand, we do have an obligation
Yeah.
to the fact that this is, public money, if you
Right.
will, under a
Yes.
nonprofit. So we do have that too.
And we want to preserve those funds if we ever have
Yeah, I mean-
instances to go back and do this.
Yeah,
that we
because
can do.
Yeah.
if we decide we're just gonna keep coasting, I'm not saying you're suggesting that, but then I would argue you should turn it into a grant. Forget it, that it's a loan to them and you just gave them the money.
Yeah.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if it's a loan, it has to look like a loan.
Sure.
This is a great conversation. I'm looking at the clock and our
Yes.
agenda.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we
Um,
need to extend the meeting time to 1:30? I mean, is that? 'Cause I feel like every meeting I'm like, I have to leave.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just something to put out there.
That is something put out there. Let's get Cirilla Helm here to speak about the NCCSC Foundation and our 15.
Yeah, we didn't approve it.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Motion to approve the financials.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, all right.
All right, and opposed? All right. We're ready for you now.
Yeah, I have, sorry, Dr. Winston and Dr. Prickett with us, and they're gonna come tell you guys about, money that you generously offered to give us an extension. So this is in relation to the 15,000 that you asked us to come back and give you, a secondary proposal on. And I feel like these ladies have, come up with a great idea.
Should I start? Thank you again for this opportunity to come back. It's great seeing you all again, and we're so grateful for your generosity. What we've looked at doing with the additional funds is in the elementary world, math continues to be a struggle. The pandemic really did a number with that missed learning opportunities. We're really seeing it 3rd and 4th grade where there's just foundational skills missing. So what I wanted to propose was 7,000 for a VMath. You may have heard of VMath because that's what Fairview has been using, and they've been using their BUA money to actually purchase an intervention called VMath. It's a software, but it also has kind of a workbook component. So there's a tangible hands-on and there's some kind of engaging software combination. The kids really like it. We've seen really good results. It's expensive, it's pricey. That's why we haven't taken it district-wide quite yet. But with your guys' help and support, we'd like to add it at Summit and Templeton, 3rd and 4th grade specifically, and look at their data. And then, you know, if we continue to see a nice gains, it might be something we take district-wide because, like I said, math continues to be an area. So 7,000 kind of for that is what I'm thinking. And then the other
Can I just ask
portion,
you-
yeah.
Perfect. So I see the mention of 300 students. Is that basically a $20 license? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's expensive. Yeah.
So 300 would impact 5 to 7,000.
Yeah. And then the other portion, that 4,200 for the writing rope. Writing is such a big portion of what we do. And, you know, even on our state standardized assessments, you don't just write in the ELA, English language arts portion, there's writing in math, there's writing in science, you know, every aspect, it's asking students to justify their thinking and show evidence and supporting evidence. So writing is an area that we feel like will get us a lot of benefit, not just in the English language arts world, but we also, I guess it can help improve our students in other subject areas as well. So the writing rope is a framework that basically helps students with their writing, improve their writing, looking at grammatical areas, even handwriting, which we know is something that now there's a lot of keywording and word processing, word choice, audience of who you write towards, and then again, that whole evidence piece, which is so big when we're teaching kids to write, to be able to pull in evidence and cite works of why they think what they think and being able to articulate that. So it's called the writing rope, and we'd like to implement that at Fairview, Templeton, and Summit as well for all students. So that's what the other 4,200 at the elementary. Any questions?
Questions for Dr. Brinker? So across each of our four
Actually, no
schools.
question. Sorry, I should have thought. Is that specific to elementary?
It is.
You can't
It
use
can
it
be applied to the upper grades. And we have not yet at this time or juncture. But again, I feel like a really neat opportunity with some grant money is to kind of pilot it in a few schools or a few grades and see what kind of response we get from both teachers and students, and obviously their data too. So I do think it's something that could be scaled up because there is an application piece for middle and high school as well. Thank you. Great question.
So across all four schools, the elementary schools as well as Tri-North Middle School, we want to, as part of our effort to expand our students' access and exposure to the arts, we'd like to have the students who are participating in orchestra in each of those four schools to have an opportunity to go to Indiana University in February, at the end of February, and have a chance to hear this Grammy-nominated duo of one violinist and one is a violist. And they're fortunately going to be here for one performance only, one night only. And they're very interested in allowing us to take our students. And so we think that we have approximately 80 students across those four schools who participate in orchestra. And so we think it might be a wonderful opportunity to, at least for sure, allow these students to participate, and the remaining balance of the $15,000 would go toward that type of an artistic activity. And so wanted to kind of just make sure that you're aware of that. It's exciting. I did not realize until recently that they were actually nominated for a Grammy in some really stiff competition. And so that was kind of exciting to learn how popular they are.
So is that for tickets or transportation? Or
It's actually both. It's the cost of the ticket, which we're in negotiations with, we have been in negotiations with IU to get a reduced ticket price along with the transportation. And as recently as yesterday, IU Auditorium reached out to us and said, would our students be willing and interested in hearing the duo go through their sound check and all of the behind the scenes activity? And if so, they would offer a free pizza party for our students to be able to come early, mingle and get to know them, talk with them a little bit. And so that's literally, the principals don't even know that part yet because it's literally yesterday.
Okay.
So anyway, there's a lot of excitement and enthusiasm about exposing our students. And we just think it's a wonderful opportunity.
I was told by one of the teachers at Fairview that this duo is called Black Violin. And they use them at Fairview as a teaching opportunity. So the kids coming from Fairview, are going to be very familiar with who they are. They've heard their music, and then I would assume that translates forward for a lot of them who are at Tri-North.
Right.
So this is somebody that they have used in their classes just to try to uplift, let them see success, show them, how people are making careers in the music world, that kind of thing. So I thought that was interesting that Maggie had shared that the kids coming from Fairview will be very familiar with who they are.
Not to put you on the spot, but to put you on the spot, what else was on your list? That you didn't make it. Like, what else were you considering for the 15?
Yeah, there's additional readers. I mean, I feel like we're always grasping for more consumable, like books in kids' hands and at various levels. So I had looked at some high level, lower Lexile level books to try to hook and engage kids, some more decodable readers. So those were some of the things that maybe didn't make the time, but I will continue to, because I just think books in kids' hands is important. And when we send them home, we ask for them to bring them back, but if they're keeping it at home because they love to read it over and over, then we don't try too hard to always get some of the books back, right? Because we know that they're benefiting from it. So the fact that that's something we can always use. So
And at the middle school level as well. I
Okay.
mean, expanding the library and access, higher, interest books and things for our students, but also you may know that we have a makerspace lab at that school. And so we're always looking to expand exposure to STEAM. And so there's been a strong focus on STEM activities, but we're really trying to do a much better job of incorporating the A and the arts into our STEM and our STEAM activities. So I would say those are some additional things that didn't make this particular cut.
For arts. You said, right, and so the books, what's a meaningful amount of that, knowing it's probably an endless pit that you could fill, but what is that, what is a meaningful amount if you would have included that here?
wow.
Like 10,000 or 5,000 or 20,000?
Yeah, no, I think, you can make a nice dent in 5,000-10,000. We ordered some not too long ago to kind of go along with our Orton Gillingham, which was an intervention, very explicit phonics and phonemic awareness instruction. And they were nice books because as you introduced each sound and phoneme, it reinforced it in the book. And I think that was close to 10 grand. I think maybe you helped me with some of that funding from some other pot of money. But
And when we've seen them, because a lot of the faculty will write individual grants to us. So when I've seen them come in at an individual grade level per se, and all this is going to be predicated based on the student population, how many are at the school, those grants will range around 2,500 on a grade level. So if you multiply that across multiple grade levels, I can give you an idea as to where it is for an individual school.
And then for arts, it's probably hard to know.
It is hard to say, but I would say in the $5,000 to $10,000 range as well, in terms of the library materials, as well as for the STEAM activities and materials and resources. You can never have enough of those. So, but we wouldn't be greedy.
we're so grateful that you extended this amount. So thank you.
So since I brought that up, I do really think this is appropriate to fund.
Thank you.
And then the other part of me is we just discussed that I know not all the grants are in here.
No.
As of this, we're under budget by 142,000 on grants, knowing there are some checks that are in the mail, but we're also 300,000 on net income, and we have 2 point something in the bank.
Right.
So if we wanted to make an additional meaningful dent in this before the end of the year, we could decide to entertain an additional funding for books.
Right.
In that range and for STEAM, and without getting the specific here, but just to do that, I would be interested in hearing what other people think about that. And that would be for this year, although, I don't know if it would hit our books or not. Well, we've been. We just have so much money here and they're right here. Let's
Right.
talk about the fact that it's hard to get away.
And we've told these ladies before, they're some of our favorite people to come before us to make presentations.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's yeah, you guys are great, and I agree, and it's for kids.
It is for
in
kids,
this
yeah.
zone at these
There.
for important, well, for schools, for zone. So I would be really interested in hearing if anyone else is in support of that or. I would support.
I would as well. So
I'm hearing jingle bells.
So motion, so I'm just gonna stick my neck out here. And see what you all say, but a motion to give an additional $10,000 for books at the elementary level for
For
those
this year.
schools for this year. And an additional $10,000 for STEAM and art for this year for Tri-North. And
the 15,000.
yes, because we have it sitting there. It's a
Okay.
Small portion of
So 10,000 for the books
for elementary.
for elementary.
At those schools, and part of that motion would be that we entrust the professional staff to distribute that appropriately. To the schools, knowing they would know better than us.
Okay, and then an additional 10,000
For arts.
for
and
arts.
In the
You said-
elementaries in Tri-North, probably, right?
Correct. And it's for the STEAM.
For STEAM.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the library resources.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was library.
Yes.
Yes. So 10 library, elementary, 10 library
And STEAM.
and STEAM for Tri-North. Right. It also would give you a shape. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that's, so an additional 20 on top of their 15.
Okay,
So we'd be at 50, we'd be at 70 for this year only. And then next year in the budget here, it's. at
it's already
50.
in,
It's
the
at
50 is
50.
already,
So it'd be
already
an
set.
extra, yeah, we'd be advancing next year's budget to
Okay.
this. That's my motion.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor, did you have a question?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, I should have asked for a question. So, go ahead.
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay,
If I could actually just ask one thing, and I don't think, so I think it's time to just jump in. I do think that for the purposes of documentation, we should get to you what you ended up spending.
Absolutely.
Right. and the
Absolutely.
documentation.
Yeah,
That would be helpful, so that we don't-
We
They're
could,
usually pretty good at
Yeah.
giving
Yeah.
us stuff.
we
so.
could approve the funding with the requirement that you submit something soon this year that is something like you said.
On those pieces, since they're a little different, like the library books and things like that, and those are the extra, I'm happy to go ahead and throw you the evaluation prior to next year, because usually the way we do it is I give you the evaluation on the grant proposal that you funded at the time, but once
Right.
they're complete, we can feed that to you as soon as you would like to have, I mean, as soon as they're finished.
Okay.
It's not an issue, because those are just buying books. It's not like we're looking for evaluation on student data or
Right.
anything
Right.
like that.
Right.
So it's just a matter of it being done. And we can give you this, most of this, the same too, like, you know, I'm happy to give you pictures of the children at the performance. You know,
honestly, that would be great,
Yeah.
because we would love to, like, you know, put that on the website, or maybe we can do the social media or something to that effect. It would be really great to put that out there, so the zone knows that, like, these are the things that the BUA does for the zone. It's a big deal, you know, and it's something great that people should be excited about, you know?
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to the performance. I know the kids are too.
So did we vote?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You came for 15? You left at 35? What a deal.
On behalf of our superintendent, I just want to say thank you. We're so appreciative.
For sure.
It's quite the investment and we don't take it for granted in any ways. So thank you.
Well, thanks for all you do.
Absolutely. Okay, I know that we are we're past time already. Let me just say this, the grant proposals that are within the packet are things for you to review. They are first drafts. This was, our team just wanted to make sure that you all knew that we were doing the work, and these are kind of the directions that we would like to go in, with these grants. Specifically, the one that we're really excited about is the resident childcare grant, because we think that this could be expanded into a larger program. I know we've said many times that there is a considerable amount of money that the BUEA does have, and potentially expanding, resident childcare into something larger might be an interesting project for the BUEA to think about. one of the things that I did want to mention in the line item changes, and I'm sorry if I'm kind of, I want to get you guys out of here because I know everybody has things to do. One of the line item changes is that we were thinking of doing an additional part-time marketing position. I believe that was I forget what it was originally stated as, but it's on this line, it's a marketing consultant under the administrative section for $10,000. That would be around 5 hours a week for this person, which gives them a pretty good hourly rate. It wouldn't be a whole lot of commitment, which I think would be good to give someone who maybe is, you know, working from home or, you know, maybe doesn't have a full-time job. It'd be an interesting project, and I think it would help the BUA inform people about grants and services that the zone actually does have. So
I fully support that. I felt a little uncomfortable not that we were giving the school system those additional funds, which I think is fine and I approve, but I'm cautious about getting into we keep giving money to the same people because they know about it and they're here. And so how can I reach a broader subset of the population that could apply? And I think the marketing position would really be beneficial.
the other caveat to that is that we would want to do it, we would want to find a consultant via the BUA because of the lengthy period of time it takes to hire someone through the city. So it would be a contractor that would be hired by the BUA and not the city. And I think that was kind of one of the hiccups that happened prior to when there was these promotional money that was put in the budget prior to, is that we're trying to go through the city, and it's a long process to get people approved through HR and the vetting process and all of that. So we would potentially be able to get a consultant quicker in this manner. So
And they're an outside contractor, not.
they would be an outside contractor.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and we've got a lot of the framework started. I mean,
Yeah.
we've done the logo
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty plug and
it
chug
needs to
sort of
be-
thing.
It needs to be carried forward.
Yes, so so that was one of the major line items that that's the major change. All of the other things that were highlighted, I believe that we had already discussed. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was sure that they had seen the specific line items that had been changed. And then the section in pink or red at the bottom are reflect the amounts that we're kind of holding in place for the grants that we're working on right now.
So the zone grant improvement.
Mhm.
So,
And you have those outlined nicely in the packet.
yeah.
The last two, the environmental sustainability and the tech modernization, those are just going to take a lot more research and to see what people are doing. And with the sustainability, the environmental sustainability, I'd like my colleague Lauren to help us guide us through that to get something that's really effective.
I did have a question, just as you develop these descriptions. There is a line that says approval for this grant will rely on financial need.
Yeah,
But-
and that is something that we're kind of trying to figure out because we're trying to help the people in the zone that need the most help. And so that's kind of the focus is like, how do we decipher who is of financial need? How do we make that happen? Like, what are the requirements? And that's something that we're gonna have to go through legal with and asking them. It's like, hey, how do we define this? What can we ask? What can we not ask? And things like that.
So that'll be added in.
It will be.
Okay.
Yeah, these are very much first
Yeah, yeah.
drafts for sure.
Yeah, and how often can you reapply for some of these?
Yes,
That needs to be addressed in here
absolutely.
too. So, because we don't want to get into the same situation. So,
Yes, for sure, for
Right.
sure.
So, but I know, I thought you did a great job on outlining programs. I thought that was really, that's
Thank you.
exactly what we want.
That is Lisa, our fellow. She's quite amazing and has helped out considerably on all of this. And then
Before we leave that,
Go for it.
I am really impressed with this because I've done this kind of work before. It's a huge amount of work to write up something like this. So good job to her and you. Can this also be done for our other programs?
Yes.
So the
Yeah.
facade, we just
Sure,
need a playbook.
Absolutely.
We've always asked for this. It's just, it's so much work to do.
Well, and I will
it's
say
just
this,
that, like, it's not urgent, it's that whole, but it's
Mhm.
extremely important. If we have a document that goes out to the board once a year, like, these are all the things we do in terms, just like this.
we are actually working on a larger document right now.
Yeah, but
So-
you could just, it's just like a one sheeter like
Mhm.
this. It doesn't have to be too much more, but we always are like, is it 2 facades or 1 or is it?
Yeah.
Right. Right,
It's-
right.
Right, so that would be great.
Yeah, we are working
Thank
on
you
a
for doing all
larger
this.
document right
That's
now.
Awesome.
Yeah, good job.
We do need to approve the staff agreement with the ESD.
Are we
Do we need
approving
to-
this budget?
We do need to vote on the
Yeah.
budget. I am so sorry. I'll get this, you guys. I swear. Next meeting, I will have
I
this.
motion approval of the 2023 budget as presented. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, thanks for your work on that, Dee.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. And then lastly, we will in the packet, we have gone over the staff agreement for ESD. And the BUEA, this in the budget is the line item for professional services. That line item is $45,000 for the budget.
That's for next year.
This is for next year for 2023.
Are we approving that? Or that
Or-
we're approving the 40 for this?
I'm
year,
sorry,
Aren't we? Are we
Yeah, what am I
approving the
doing?
40 for this year?
the 40 for this year. That's right. We have to approve the 40 for this year. So
Actually,
sorry.
it said, for 2023, it says 45,000. I thought it said 40.
It's 40 for 2022.
Mhm.
So when
Yeah,
we
I think what's
approve
going
it,
on, this is, I think the last agreement that was put in place was 21.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
So this is playing, right, a two-year,
It's a 2-year agreement.
is that the way it's working?
I believe so.
Okay,
Um,
so this is for 23 and 24.
no, this is a 1-year agreement through December 31, 23. This is the 23 agreement
Larry jumped off, so he's not here.
under the therefores, number 1, the term is to 23.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a 1-year, which we would have then already we forgot to do the 2022.
No, I think they take the money. They haven't done it yet. So the
Well,
40,000.
to be clear, I
hasn't been
think
paid.
this, if you look under section 5, it says that there are basically 2 itemized funding commitments through this agreement. One is for the 2022 amount of 40,000. So to some degree, that's backward looking. And then the other statement is for forward looking 23 for 45.
So it says that it's to be paid in quarterly installments and if they haven't taken any of it.
Right.
Right.
So this is playing double, I think.
So this is
Larry's
for-
on the.
No,
This
he's
is
off.
for our legal and our,
controller,
yeah.
This is all the stuff.
Yeah.
All the stuff.
so it's not. Is there a motion to approve this agreement?
So moved.
Second? Any discussion? Favor?
Aye. Okay, we still have John's. Thank you. Well, since we're over time, any general discussion?
Well, I just want to say thank you to Karen for everything that you've done because you've been so good to kind of get us on a good financial track and obviously a good mentor too, but to get us on a good financial track. And I have really appreciated the fact to have you on the board and so, and the fact that you took over for me for 6 months when I was gone. So I appreciated that too. So that's on kind of a personal note, but we have appreciated having you and we will miss you greatly.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure. I really, really very much enjoyed it. It was a super tough decision, but I had a meeting of the minds with just myself. It's time to be an adult about all this. It's got to go. So I very much appreciate your leadership and everyone, and staff new and previously, and it's just been great. So I'll miss it. And I look forward to seeing all the good work that the BVA does moving forward.
Well, thank you. I just wanted to say that.
No, absolutely. All right, well, if no one has any objections, the meeting adjourned.